Taking the new ball on this Monday edition of the SportsMax Zone after losing Saturday's penultimate game by 9 wickets, West Indies rallied to win the series deciding fifth T20 against India on Sunday at Lauderhill in Florida. Batting first, the visitors were restricted to 165 for 9 in their 20 overs with Surya Kumar Yadav, the only batsman to pass 30, the right-handed top scoring with 61 from 45 deliveries. Tilak Varma, the series' third highest scorer with 173 runs, added 27. Romario Shepherd led the Windies bowling with a career best 4 for 31, while left-arm spinner Akil Hussain and seamer Jason Holder both had 2 wickets. Brandon King led the Windies' pursuit of 166 with his highest T20 international score of 85 not out. Man of the series Nicholas Pooran contributed 47 in a match-winning 107-run second-wicket partnership with King. Shea Hope finished unbeaten on 22 as the Windies eased to 171 for 2 to win by 8 wickets with 12 deliveries to spare and clinching a 3-2 series win. The West Indies series win, the first against India and first consecutive series triumphs in 6 years. Nikhil Uttamchandani joins us to review the weekend's matches, and a very, very satisfying result there for the Windies, Nikhil, because the momentum had appeared to be with the Indians going for 3 straight, but the Windies came up big with a very, very solid all-round performance. Every aspect of their game Sunday pretty solid for them.
Most definitely, Lance. Let me start by joining SportsMax in offering my condolences for Deshaun Howell to his friends and family. But for the West Indies, a lot to celebrate. I think with ball, Romario Shepherd was sensational and he deserves a lot of credit, which we'll talk about in the show. But also the way that they've found a combination with bat in hand that has not only been able to chase down scores, but has also been able to cover their weaknesses, which has been for a long time batting in the middle overs against spin. Rodman Powell began the series by saying it would be decided in terms of how they played Chahal and Bishnoi and Kuldeep Yadav, and I think he was spot on, and I think they delivered the job, and obviously it's the first back-to-back series win under Rodman Powell's captaincy and Sammy, and also the first one since 2017, which is 6 years, and that's significant in my opinion.
Yeah, Nicola, it has to be said that this is not the strongest India team. They're world number 1 at the moment, but not with this unit. Having said that, this is still a pretty solid Indian team that, man for man, the Indians would have expected to still beat the Windies.
Yeah, we've all watched the IPL. It was on SportsMax, and we saw how exuberant and how flashy, but also how well these youngsters who are in this Indian team, Tilak Varma, Shubham Gill, Jaiswal, Kuldeep Yadav, Chahal, they've always dominated West Indian conditions. We've seen how well they've done. Many might make the case that you could say, yes, they don't have as much experience, but based on the IPL, India may even think about having that top order with the youth and Surya Kumar Yadav, as opposed to having a Virat Kohli or KL Rahul. Obviously, it'll be for discussion come the next World Cup. So, from a West Indies perspective, they have to beat what was in front of them, and it's without a doubt that these Indians put up a huge challenge for them. And they had to be on top of their game, especially after they won the first 2, and then India came back. After they lost the 4th one on Saturday, I think everyone was worried because India had the momentum of winning 2 straight. And still after all of that, I think many said, Hardik was experimenting with his decision to bat first. I thought he actually got the better of the surface because it significantly slowed down. So with all of that in mind, the West Indies were able to complete the job, and I think it's a series that should not be forgotten, but also deserves a lot of credit from a West Indian perspective.
Speaking about completing the job, Shea Hope 22 not out, coming in to bat at number 4, replacing Johnson Charles. A good move by skipper Rodman Powell and, of course, coach Darren Sammy, because it paid off.
I'm really happy for Shea Hope, Maria, and when we think about the previous years in his white ball game, we've heard many criticisms about his strike rate, which he's now elevated to 100 in ODI cricket, but also the 6 hitting, and in Zimbabwe he worked a lot on it with head coach Darren Sammy. And also I think he managed his aggression really well, picked his bowlers who he wanted to go after, and we know how much quality he is overall, but especially against spin for me, is where he can make a big difference in this West Indies batting lineup, and that was something that the West Indies did really well in the series. We all expected Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav and the spinners, Akshar Patel, etc. to dominate. But India's spinners went at 8 runs and over and averaged 29 runs per wicket. So that's a huge win for the West Indies. And they elevated their run rate, which has been 6.5 since that 2021 T20 World Cup. And it's now at 8.5 this year in the 8 matches in the middle period between overs 7 and 15. So I think that's a huge win for the West Indies team, and Shea Hope, Pooran and Hetmeyer, and even Rodman Powell, who deserves immense credit as well, have a big part to play.
Yeah, and I think there are so many things, Nikhil, that we can take away from this series. We speak about positives, but with every post-analysis, every assessment, we look at the negatives too. A couple of players we would have expected and we're very, very happy to see light up the scene against India. We didn't get the best of Kyle Mayers. We didn't get the best of Shimron Hetmeyer. Do you think the Windies, will, of course, keep these players moving forward, or you see them? Because I feel like many a times we get rid of players too quickly. What do you think how they will treat these two players in particular moving forward?
I think there was a series of trial and error when it came to Shimron Hetmeyer, and it's really satisfying to see him get 61 in that fourth T20 international. And when I came on the show, we had a discussion about him entering the game a bit earlier. And in that game, he came in the 7th over, transitioned from that finisher type that they've been trying to do in the first 3 T20 internationals, and it worked for him. Yes, the West Indies didn't win the game. They only got to 178, but it seemed to be Shimron Hetmeyer that we've grown used to see, and especially against India, who he's done really well against. I think he is so vital in both white ball formats going forward for the West Indies. And yes, he didn't get the performances that he would have wanted or the West Indies would have wanted, but the fact that he's played both series and I think has regenerated that commitment to West Indies cricket is important moving forward. For Kyle Mayers, I don't think there'll be too many concerns. Look, the guy has been sensational on top of the order with Brandon King, and the style of play that he possesses, it's high risk, high reward. And in every series, he won't be able to get off. But we saw in the IPL, we saw at times in the T20 World Cup, and even in last year's CPL, how explosive and dangerous and how much damage he can do to oppositions if he gets off in that power play phase. So I'm personally more than happy with what he's done. And yes, he didn't come off in the series, but I'm sure he'll be looking at the CPL to really get back in the runs.
Yeah, Nicholas Pooran being put in that number 3 position yesterday, and when I saw it, I thought to myself, why didn't I think of this before? Why isn't Nicholas Pooran batting higher in this T20 order? And you would hope facing majority of the deliveries. I mean, what was your take on that, and how do you see it going forward? Is this something that we should be looking at for the future, looking ahead to the T20 World Cup next year?
Let me start by saying, Ricardo, I need to upgrade my fashion. You're looking sharp, man, with that suit. And I like the red tie as well. But what I'll say on Pooran, you're doing well. You deserve credit like the West Indies. But what I'll say is on Pooran, after seeing him bat at 3 and entering the game a lot earlier in the power play, he came in the second over. I did some crunching of the numbers. He's faced 61 balls in the power play this year. He's scored 125 runs. That's a strike rate of 204. And he's only been dismissed once. So clearly, as challenging as the new ball is, the best bowlers are bowling, but Pooran loves that challenge. I think for the West Indies moving forward, I know why they did it in the 5th game. It was to get that left-right combination maintained after Mayers was dismissed. But surely he's proved to the world in the Major League where he scored that 100 at number 3, and now in this T20 International Series, that I think, Pooran, you want your best batter facing the most deliveries, as you rightfully pointed out. And this year alone, he's striking at 150, but I think we see the best version of him when he's at the top of the order and can partner a Brandon King. And even if Kyle Mayers is the one to stay in, I would still fancy seeing the 2 left-handers just because of how good Pooran is. When he came in at 4 and 5 and didn't bat in the power play, the West Indies were a bit timid and didn't get as many runs as they would have liked in the series. So, as I keep mentioning, it was a series of experimentation, but I think head coach Sammy and Captain Powell have figured out the formula and the lineup that they want and in terms of managing different structures and different times of the game.
Yeah, and just about 30 seconds, but I don't think we can leave this segment without talking about Romario Shepherd. He wasn't always great, in my opinion, in this series, but when he was good, he was very good. Your take?
Ricardo, he's been criticised, castigated across the region for his bowling at the back end of the innings. He bowled 5 overs in this series in that phase, 7 wickets, and he averaged a wicket every 4 balls. He deserves his flowers. He's worked on it a lot. I've visually seen him and I've known the difficulties he's gone through, and I'm really happy for him. Enough said. Just happy to see him get that success.
All right, Nikhil, we'll leave it there. Thanks for talking to us here on the SportsMax Zone. Always happy to have you share your thoughts on West Indies cricket. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Yeah, we go to break. Back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.